Awesome. So guess we'll get started. So quick agenda. We're going to talk about Home Depot measurement services, which is actually a smaller component of the whole services structure. And then our team, what our responsibilities are, how we kind of do things. We'll take a look at some of the things that we used to do in the past, and then try to figure out what we're going to use to really go forward and try to use to evaluate some of our people. The solution to the problem is what I have not really intelligently coined, the multi-dimensional metric dashboard. It could mean multiple things. I'm sure there's other cool names for what I've kind of put together here, but this is what I've been using. So, Home Depot measurement services. The question is, who are we? So, once upon a time, there was a company called New York Carpet World. They sold a lot of carpet across the entire country. When they were acquired, they went and started something called MeasureComp, which was responsible for providing computerized floor plans and drawings. We measured, then a few years later, after we started measuring and closing jobs for Home Depot. We have about 700 people in the field around the country, in every state except for Hawaii, unfortunately, and 400 closers support associates who are in our offices at our office in Detroit, actually. And in 2012, we were acquired by Home Depot, considering we were virtually an extension of them anyways. So the process, what do we do that's so unique? What we do is that when you are interested in buying some flooring, like this nice carpet over here, you go into a Home Depot store, and you're going to choose your product, and you're going to schedule a measure. Once you're scheduling the measure, that's when it flows into our system. When you have the measure scheduled, you'll pick a specific date, give a few basic pieces of information, and one of our technicians is going to come out to your house, take all the measurements, do a site assessment, take pictures, anything that we would need to quote and sell you the job. Once that's done, the technician will transmit the data to our servers. We're going to calculate and build a quote and a plan. Our closing associates will then start calling the customers, trying to sell them the job. We also are sending by email. You can go through the web. There's all sorts of different options. Then once that's all taken care of, the installer gets the PO, comes to install the flooring. Pretty simple. Any questions at this point? Awesome. So, two quick questions. What would you prefer in terms of a floor plan if you wanted to, get some carpet? We have the old method, which is that. And then we have our method, which is this. So, for all the way from the customer to the provider, the installer, everyone likes our stuff better. We have nice cut lists. You can see on the side how it shows you. Can you see it on the screen if I do that? No? Oh. You can see all the different cuts that we're going to make from the big pieces of carpet that you're going to buy, so you can really see, hey, we're not wasting all this extra carpet on you. We're basically giving you everything that you bought. We're just cutting it differently. And this is applicable in all sorts of ways. We could do it for carpet. We could do it for hardwood, laminate, anything that you really are putting on your floor. So just a quick talk about my team, who are sitting over there. What are our responsibilities? So we do reporting analysis, development, predictions, scorecards, dashboards, anything that usually involves a number that happens in our office. We like to call ourselves the central reporting nervous system for our entire division, HDMS, because basically any piece of information usually flows through us. We are the ones who are going to tell you what's going on, and we are the ones who are going to tell you what you need to do about it if you want to listen to us. So how have we been doing things in the past? We do, just like probably everyone in the room, a lot of Excel manipulation, never that much fun, bit of a pain in the butt. A lot of SQL writing, and a lot of tears. Not for me, I'm very macho. So what happened when we switched? Well, obviously, we're not using SQL and Excel, so we're not having to write a query, then take the data, drop it into Excel, do the analysis, see what it looks like. If we made a mistake, go back. Kind of, takes a lot of time. And all these automatic refreshes have saved us enormous amounts of time. Just as an example, every Monday is big reporting day at Home Depot, as a lot of you probably know. Everyone basically spends half a day or even the whole day putting everything together. We've been able to cut down the time that we've been doing this significantly because we are just basically either saying, hey, go look at Tableau, or for the people who are less inclined to go get things themselves, here's an email that we just copy and paste the dashboard from, pull the PDF, send it out. Sometimes have to assemble a few things together. But we're really trying to go from we're trying to get people to pull their own reports. We're not trying to send them out to them. And I'm sure with everybody, it's a bit of a struggle. People like to be spoon-fed what they want to know, but we're trying to get people to actively say, what do I need to know? I'm going to go get it, and to help them know where to get it. And like everybody else, it's a struggle. Some people really don't like to go get their own information, and we'll get questions that we could say, our first answer to almost every question is, have you looked on Tableau? Just like any IT person says, have you restarted your computer? So just wanted to talk a bit about the previous scorecard that we've been using, which Rick over there put together, which was a big pain in the butt. We could only do it for a few of our markets. It took a lot of time, and it doesn't really help because, we have people ranked on a few different metrics, but really it doesn't really help you know what's the most important. What do you need to look at? What are you trying to understand and to find the opportunities? And one of the things that we look for, I call the presentation opportunities within data, and what I'm kind of considering an opportunity here is the opportunity to find something that's not working well and to go and fix it on an individual level. So that being said, if I have a field technician who is underperforming, that's an opportunity for me to go coach him up, train him, see what he needs, do what I can, or get the field manager there to help him get better. If it's a store that I see has, poor metrics, that's another opportunity for me to go and tell someone, hey, this store needs help with this, that, XYZ. Maybe you can go over there and talk to them. And that's really the opportunities we're looking for. So as you can see, there are a bunch of problems with this. We can really only stack rank by one metric. We can kind of create blended metrics, but stack ranking is not always going to be that apparent if you're looking at a blended number. You might not see what's more important compared to something else. It's a lot of manual work and a lot of manual sending it out to everybody. For each row here of an individual technician, we would theoretically have to send them their own individual version of it. And it's also very static. It's a quick snapshot. When we were putting these together, it was once a month. It was a whole lot of work, and we could really not do that many at a time. It's very hard to spot any trends or anything that's abnormal when you have your data looking kind of like in a table like this. And Home Depot does love our tables, and I've seen a lot of Tableau reports on the server that is in tables, but I think that we're all doing a pretty good job of kind of moving away from that. And finally, when you have too many metrics, you can't really do that much to really focus on. It's really hard to say, okay, who am I going to focus on for this? What's more important for me to target? How do I get the most bang for my buck in terms of coaching someone or going to a store or working with a team or developing training? So just to give you a quick overview, just some quick metrics, just an explanation. Measure percentages, out of all the jobs that we have to measure, what are we actually measuring? So if we schedule a measure, chances are that it's going to get taken care of. But every once in a while, customer is not home, technician gets sick, car breaks down, traffic. But we need to make sure that our measures are getting performed because the customers want to buy their flooring. If we don't get measured also, we're not getting paid for it. That's kind of the rule of thumb. That's how our individual business unit works, is we get paid for the measures. The chargeback percentage is another key one, which is out of all the jobs that we measured, how many of them had an error that are going to result in some sort of refund? And we work very hard to avoid these because obviously you don't want to make mistakes. And even if you are taking care of the customer, we are giving them back the money that we potentially have messed up or taking care of any situation. It's just a bad taste in your mouth. We want to reduce errors as much as possible. I'm sure that goes for any business, any company, anywhere. Measure volume is also a pretty simple one. How many jobs is the tech measuring? You could have a technician that performs extremely well, but if he's doing one measure a day, it's not going to really impact the overall score of the entire department, of the entire team, of the region, so on and so forth. And finally, on this one, we're looking at the tech type. Some techs we have to pay by day because they work in rural areas. They have to go all the way out. It takes a long time to get there. You can't really cram that many jobs into their day. So we want to compare those to themselves, and then we have techs that we get paid per job. So every time they go and measure a job, they get paid. We want to make sure that they're doing as many as we can to maximize on that return. So start off with a quick scorecard that I put together that I think helps a lot of these different scenarios and helps us really understand how to look at this data and really spot what we can do to it, to understand what's going on. This is a very quick map that we put together, and our field managers really need to use this sort of information to know where they need to have technicians. Areas that are red, obviously, I put a little bit of lower volume. Areas that are green have higher volume. That's really where you have to make sure you have coverage everywhere, but these are the measures by zip code, which is one of the great things that Tableau has. Just say, okay, out of all the jobs, where are they being done, sort it by zip code, throw it on a map, makes life so much easier. And our technicians, our field managers in the past would have to go to our IT team, have them build a special query, use some specialized mapping software. Now they're just doing this on their own. They can look at volume in their markets anytime that they want to. And they could look at it for any date constraints that they want. On the bottom is where I got a little bit more creative. And we always like to look at things, in terms of trend lines. We want to know if things are getting better, things are getting worse. But for these two metrics that we're looking at here, there was a year-over-year component that we wanted to consider because seasonality there's a lot of seasonality within Home Depot, and we really want to make sure that you compare like to like I'm sure everyone else does. So what I did here is, when the numbers were good, you can see that it's over when the numbers are looking good over the one standard deviation, another feature that I love that we could just throw that up there, takes 2 seconds, and you can really see what's outside of the norm and what's really different. But what I also did is I threw a quick color legend up there as well to show when, even though we did pretty well in the beginning of the year, no, is this a laser? Cool. So here, even though it looks like we did pretty well here at the beginning of the year, it was actually worse than last year, which is surprising because it looks like we performed really, really well at this point. But like I said, we still didn't beat what we could have done last year. Same thing for the bottom one. And when it's green, like here's another good example. Here's where we did pretty well compared to last year. And this is something that our field managers can really look at and see, hey, even though I'm doing so well, I still could have done better because last year I had a better opportunity to do a better job here. And it helps us also drill in and see, what the causes are for that. But here is the actual scorecard that I wanted to show you all. And I love these kind of scatter plots because you could do a lot with them. And one of the things that I like is the 4-quadrant kind of concept here, in that I have my chargebacks, which we want to minimize as much as possible here on the bottom. We have our measure percentage on the top. So ideally, what we want is someone who has low chargebacks, so on this side of the average, and high measure. So these are really my top performers. And if I look at them, I could also see we have some people up here who are really good. Some of them are per day and per tech. But then we also can see the pretty obvious opportunity, which is that dude down there. Maybe that guy. Using tooltips, we were able to put a lot more information into there. I know who it is, what's an employee ID, his actual numbers, what his name is, and there's a lot more stuff that we could do with tooltips. This is actually the first version of this dashboard that we put together. There's a second version coming out that is going to be a lot cooler and will leverage the capabilities of Tableau 10 a lot more. As a lot of you who do work for Home Depot know, we were still stuck on version 9 point something until probably today, when I believe Chris Tidwell is upgrading it, which is going to be awesome for everybody. So that's really, this is really what we like to do in terms of telling our technicians. You pull up your specific market that you want to look at over there. You choose your date range if you want to pick a specific year, because there are some times where you don't want to look at the whole year. You want to look at just 1 month's performance. And the next version that I'm actually working on is I'm going to have paths that will draw the lines as the person goes over time. So as you look through it, you can see if they've gotten better or worse and where they're moving throughout the scatter plot. That'll give us another time component to this dashboard, which will help us really understand if someone's getting better or worse, if the coaching that we've implemented has helped, if we've trained and they've helped. So that's really how we've started looking at our market. We've stopped using you know what, I'm not going to do that now. We've stopped using the previous version. We stopped sending it out. It was just wasting too much of our time. And one of the big things, like I said before, that Tableau has helped us do is save a lot of time. We've definitely saved a lot of time and provided a lot more value to our field managers because they have a lot more visibility. They don't have to wait on us to send something. They could do whatever they want. They could pull what they want. If they want to look at a specific month, a specific year, a specific technician, they could see all the details that they want in here without having to bother us and ask us for a new version of their scorecard or the oldest one that they had on the guy. They don't have to worry about any of those things, and it's completely self-service. Another version of this dashboard, another version of this kind of method of looking at data is this scorecard that we put together quickly for closing associates. And the question that we wanted to ask was, how are our newer associates doing? So by quickly throwing up, so we quickly, this was one of the actual greatest things that when we started using Tableau 10, we were able to start doing those cross-database joins, which I believe Christian mentioned in the keynote that he provided, that he gave. we have some different tenure groups that we put together, and we were able to put those together by using Tableau 10 to join two completely different databases, finding similar fields and connecting them. So what we could really see here is we could see a pretty definitive pattern here. All these purple people are our newest people. You could tell they're not handling a lot of work, but they're converting at a fairly high rate. So the question is, why are we having such fairly decent performance out of these people at such an early stage? But when we kind of dug into the data a little bit, we saw a few things. Number one, most of them are these little circles, which indicates that they're inbound calls. So when someone calls you to buy something, it's a lot easier than you calling them to sell it to them, which I'm sure anyone who's done sales knows. When they call us to buy from us, it's a really easy opportunity for us to sell the job. And what we've done and what we found in the closing center is that they were basically routing all of our newest associates, the easiest jobs, which are typically carpet jobs because the ticket is fairly low, or lower compared to, let's say, tile. And we were giving them the inbound call. So these associates were basically answering the phone. Someone said, I'd like to buy this flooring that you've just quoted me, and taking the credit card. It's pretty easy to do. I'm sure I could do it even, and I am not a salesperson. Then we were able to kind of dig in a little bit more. We could see that as we were training people, their close rates fell as they were handling more work, which you would typically see. But here we could also see some more fairly significant opportunities. Here's someone who's been around with us for a fairly decent amount of time, not closing very well, handling a lot of work. But they're on an outbound team. So that particular person will have harder opportunities. They're probably, I have a filter here, I didn't actually turn it on, but that will tell me if they're carpet or they're selling carpet or some other floor type. But we could really see that this is a person who maybe we want to talk to, because even though they've been around for a while, they're not succeeding as much as other people in terms of selling the jobs. We'd want to know, is it that we're giving them harder work to do, or is it because they're just not succeeding as much? But when we look at things like this, we really can see a whole group that's an opportunity that's below our performance averages, and lets us really dig into why the performance itself is actually going that way. I'm actually kind of surprised that went pretty quickly, because I am more or less done. But I guess I didn't really want to go into the details of how to build those dashboards. I'm sure you all have lots of different ideas, and one of the things that I learned here was that don't use red and green, because colorblind people will just see a nice gray line. So that was pretty dumb of me. But one of the cool things that Tableau has is that nice little feature that says use your palette for colorblind people. And that was one of the cool things. That's going to be in the next version that we're putting out, which I'm supposed to start working on tomorrow because my director has been yelling at me. But that being said, is there any questions or anything that I can answer on anything that I've spoken about? So I'm supposed to repeat the question because it's being recorded. So you're asking me about whether or not the technicians are getting a view of this, and you're asking me how big the team is. So like I said before, the team, there's technically 3 of us, but we have a 4th associate in the Atlanta offices. We're based out of Detroit, who also works with us. But we're pretty much a core team of 3 people who put together everything. And it's been amazing that my team has actually gotten better than me at a lot of this Tableau stuff, which I'm pretty proud of. Don't say anything. In terms of whether the technicians see the scorecards themselves, that's another thing that we're working on. We do not give frontline associates Tableau access. I guess in terms of the licensing, I'm not really sure about all the details, but what we do is, because it's tricky because our technicians are spread out all over the country. And our field managers have to, manage these people. So if you're the manager in New York Metro, it's pretty easy for you to see all your guys on a regular basis. But if you're the manager of, let's say, West Texas, it's pretty rare that you're going to actually get out and see your guys. So what we try to do is, when we have this kind of overall view, our field managers can take a screenshot of this. If they click on just the technician's name, they'll get the screenshot of him. They can see how they are performing compared to everybody else. And if they're meeting in person, they could go through the same exercise. But the fact that everyone's up there, you can really see how well you're performing. If I go back. So if I just sent this image to David Espinoza over here, that's actually not his name, I changed all the names. I could send him this and say, hey, look, David, compared to everybody else, it's not looking very good for you. What can we do to get you better? I don't have to talk to him about anybody else. On the previous scorecard that you saw with all the names, you had a giant list of everyone's name. You don't really want to let everybody know how well they're doing compared to their peers individually, but you do want to let them know how well they are doing compared to their peers themselves. This really lets you do that because you can see that everyone's really clustered, and Mr. Espinoza down there really needs to work on his chargebacks and his measure percentage. And I can show him that, and he could really see this is really powerful when you're going up to an individual and you're saying to them, hey, everyone else is kind of doing okay, but you're really, we got to work with you. This really gives you, this has a lot of impact. When you see yourself that far separated from the rest of the crowd, it really can show you, hey, you really got to, let's work on this and let's figure out what we could do to make you better. Find the opportunity. Thank you. Any other questions? David.
Any tips that you have for adoption, for moving from that static scorecard into Tableau?
So that's a great question. One of the things that I guess is always nice is finding a partner. It's what we're kind of recommended to do in any kind of tricky situation is to get a partner. And for this, I was very lucky that the partner was the director of the field. So he was very adamant on all his technicians using it. Back in the day, when we were Measure Comp, or even in the earliest infancy before we had Tableau, we had a lot of managers, and we still do, who are more reticent to use the newer technologies. They don't like looking at the cool new toys. They're fairly technological agnostic. They know what they have to do with the tools that they already have, and they don't really want to go beyond that. So when we have to kind of force them to do this, what we would do is we would say, their director, their senior leaders would say to them, I need to know this and this and this from you, and here's where you should go get it. And basically forcing them to use it by adopting it and making them kind of report out on what they've been doing and trying to coach them along, keep it simple at the beginning, and let them kind of discover it themselves. Because one of the greatest things about Tableau is the fact that you can really play with it, especially on the online server, which is how we've deployed all this. If you want to go and if we give you control and access to do all sorts of different things, you can do them. And people have come to me afterwards who were fairly reticent to use the technology and said to me, it's pretty awesome that you could do this sort of things. Right now we're really transitioning every single thing that we do as much as possible to Tableau. From intraday reporting, we have flash reports that come out every hour, every 2 hours, and we're moving those to Tableau. We're trying to do as much as we can and really just show the power of it. And as much as we don't have our frontline associates individually looking at it, when we show it to them and we have a manager who can click through things and show them what they're doing, and it builds value from the bottom up. Any other questions? Wow. Well, thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. So I'm supposed to ask you all to complete the survey. And again, thank you. If there's any other questions, anyone wants to talk to me up here, I'll stick around. I guess I'm supposed to anyways. Thank you so much.